So here's in the conference, the second link is for the approach chart for the Brno to Rani airport. So basically, as I said, you have the two main systems of approach, 2D and 3D. And 2D is without vertical guidance. Sometimes it is called non-precision approach, or usually called non-precision approach. And then you have the precision approach, which is which have the vertical guidance. For example, ILS system, MLS, precision approach radar.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a question, because the link that you place on the conference brings to me just to this blank page. I mean, and it's like a website,
Sorry.
but yes, but there is no like a.
Okay, so my bad. It is.
Yeah, I was about to ask as well.
Okay, I
But it's in
will
English
do.
as well, so it's fine.
Okay, I will do it other way. I forget that they have it.
Well, basically, I can see a search, search box. So probably there's something.
This is the card.
Ah, okay. All right.
So this is the instrument approach chart, or instrument approach chart for the Brno to Rani for ILS procedure, which is the 3D procedure. That means you have the, as you probably know, you have like a lateral and a vertical guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see on the at the most top of the page, you see the header name of the file. You have their IP Czech Republic. It is from Airport Information Publication. Then you have on the other side, you have the name of the chart. You see there the ICAO name of the airport. And then you have the date when it was issued. This is
a few months ago.
Sorry?
A few months ago.
Yeah, and this is important because it is fairly new, so it is actual.
Mm-hmm.
I will do not cover the updates, how these procedures are updated or how these charts are updated, because it is rather complex also. Then under that you have the table. You see that the big name is the approach chart. Then you have the airdrome elevation, and the important thing, the threshold elevation, because from this threshold elevation of runway 270, it is computed, you see, obstacle clearance height.
So if the airdrome elevation in 778, the threshold is 771?
Yeah, because the airdrome elevation is the elevation of the reference point of the airfield, which is probably somewhere in the center. But it is not the same point where the elevation is measured for the threshold.
Oh, okay.
This can be rather big. For example, for my airport, it is really big difference, like 30 meters or so.
Whoa.
Or 16 meters. 16 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have there the frequencies. Another important thing for the flight, as you know. Then you have there the minimum radar vectoring altitudes in the sectors according to the airdrome reference point. So when you are at the 090 or lower, then you have the 3,100 feet minimum flight radar vectoring altitude. That means that the ATC is able to say your position from the surveillance radar and from transponder. Under this altitude, that 3100, it is not sure that he will see you on the radar.
Okay.
So it's basically a blind spot.
Yeah, under this altitude, it should be you should look at it as a blind spot. You cannot be under this altitude when you are flying according to IFR flight rules.
And it's mandatory, I guess. So you have to stay above 3,100 in this case.
Yeah, in this area, when you are from this chart, when you are at the bearing from the airfield from 235 to 160, you need to be at 4,100 or higher, as you see.
Copy.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and this is valid for DME, Bruno. So these bearings are from VOR DME, Bruno. And there you have also the distance 25 miles. So if you are in the 25 miles from the B and O VOR, you need to be at this higher than these altitudes. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And of course, there is another chart for the runway 72.
27.
This is 27, and I guess it's not the same for runway 72 on the same aeroport.
72 is not, cannot be the runway. The another runway will be -18, and it will be 09er.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's like basically due east and due west, basically.
Yeah, east and west.
It's too early,
So-
isn't it? You need another coffee.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we can go to the chart. Well, I should copy this chart to that whiteboard. So from this image, you see here some important points. The first, well, it is not the best thing, or it is not the best chart, but you see here the one of the most important points is initial approach fix. Then you have the and the final approach fix. And you have here the two initial approach fixes. Initial approach fix B and O, and another one book up. Do you see them?
But can you point it up on the
Okay.
board?
Yep. This is initial approach.
Okay.
And the other one is on the right side.
All right.
DME
And
stands for?
DME distance measuring equipment. It is basically the same system as the TACAN.
Okay.
DME is exactly the same system, but used for in civilian sphere, and the TACAN is made by much more DME transceivers or transmitters, which makes that TACAN characteristic similar to VOR.
Copy.
So, the instrument approach is divided into three phases: initial approach segment, intermediate approach segment, and the final approach segment. There are some limitations, some obstacle clearance altitudes for this. They are shown on the
You're cutting.
Yeah, sorry. I need to.
Yeah, take your time. I mean, it wasn't really, scheduled. We just woke up in the morning. Yeah, what do you do on Saturday
Yeah.
morning? You start doing checking
Classic.
airfield charts. Exactly.
Yeah. So for these segments of the approach, the initial segment is well, basically you do not need the all segments for all procedures. Sometimes the initial or intermediate segment can be omitted. And I think this is the case because you have here the initial approach fix, which start the initial approach segment, and then you see here then you go, yeah, if you see something like this, and so that red drawing around the after the initial approach fix, you heard that explanation.
I'm not understanding. Okay, I mean, you were referring because I'm watching the board and you saw some red lines on it, like on a cat CD.
So let me.
Okay, so once more, when you are at the initial approach fix, when you are flying in IFR, you proceed via the star, which stands for the standard arrival route. We can. It is similar like this approach. There is some radials or some ways you have to fly. Then you finish at the initial approach fix, and from initial approach fix, from for example here the B and O, you fly through the at the if you are category Charlie or Delta, you fly at the radial 114 B and O at altitude 3,000 feet, and at for until the distance 10 miles of DME, B and O or BO. And then you start turning. After that 10 miles, you start turning to intercept the glide path or the
Okay.
localizer of the ILS.
Okay.
So up to here is easy. I think you overfly the point, so you know where you're starting. You fly according to this data, and you just get to the point there. When you are at 10 miles, you should turn. But how do you turn? I mean, what's the rate of the turn, or the angle, the banking?
Well, for the this should be the standard turns. I think helicopters have it 15 degrees bank, but for airliners, I don't know. That could be the 30-degree turn. It should be standard 2-minute turn.
Okay. So it should be like a 2-minute turn. It's kind of turn.
Yeah.
But and also then when you're on a glide path, you need to intercept the ILS crossing on your instrument, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you are flying at the 3,000 feet. And you see there another point, final approach fix. And at this point you should. And if you are at 3,000 feet at that, and you intercept that radial or that 274 heading, and you are at the correct localizer, you have somewhere near the. You are somewhere.
Okay.
And I guess that the rate of turn depends on the category as well, because I see the category A and B are much tighter than that.
Yeah, that's the difference between the categories. That's why the AB have that lower or that another radial closer to the I know that final or glide path, or how to say it. So you are flying at the 3000 feet until the final approach fix, and at the final approach fix you should intercept the glide slope, and then you should start descending at the 3% 3-degree glide path, which is 5.2%. It is shown here on the lower image.
Okay.
And I guess that the vertical lines at 2040 and 1410 like checkpoints to check if you're actually in the glide path. Makes sense. Is that correct?
Which one?
Right vertically, under the red circle that you draw. The
Yeah.
2040 is like a checkpoint basically, so you should
It
be...
is like a checkpoint.
Yeah.
It's one checkpoint. Yeah. This is the checkpoint.
And theoretically the last one would be like the runway, unless you are killing yourself, basically. Yeah.
No, it is the inner marker.
No, I'm not saying the 1040, I mean the next one. That should be the following one, which should be theoretically the runway, or no?
No, it is 1410. It's not the runway.
No,
It
the
is
next one.
2
There
miles.
should be a next one that is not that. I mean, wrote down there.
Yeah. Yeah. DME. BNO. Here's.
Yeah, that's the runway. Like the black box.
Yeah.
Black line
Yeah,
is the runway.
Oh right, yeah, I totally missed it. Yeah.
And so I guess that if you're not on that altitude, I mean, if you're not right at the inner mark, you should fly over. I mean, fly away.
Well, I think if you are for ILS, if you are in the 1.5 mark of that ILS marker or ILS instrument, you are okay. If you are outside this for the glide path or for the localizer, you need to do, or you should do the missed approach procedure.
Okay.
Then for ILS, you have here the OCA and OCA.
Sorry, what?
Sorry?
What did you just say?
On the lower part of the board, on that instrument approach chart, you have the instrument obstacle clearance altitude and obstacle clearance height. It is computed altitudes for that position, and that will ensure that you do not collide with anything on the ground. You are high enough. And you have here for subcategory for all categories, and you see here straight in approach, which means that is from the final approach fix you are flying straight in approach, and for category 1, which means
I think I miss. You're breaking.
So,
I lost you at category 1, which means.
Category 1, which means you have the glide path working. So you have the 3D approach or precision approach.
Okay.
So you can fly this to your minima, which is for the ILS 60 meters. I think it is 170 or something like that. That's or 150 feet. I do not know the correct conversion now. Stand by. So it is 200 feet minimum or decision altitude for you should be at least 200 feet.
Okay.
Above the ground level.
Mhm.
So it is according to this procedure you can go up to 149er, but ILS category 1 have the 200 minimum. So you will set up your RVR or your not RVR, your radar altimeter at warning at above the 200 meters. No, not meters, feet.
Okay.
60 meters. If you are category A, if you are category B, 161 and so on. If you have just only the localizer working, you will set your the decision altitude above the 270 feet. And there is also the procedure for circling approach. This is used when there is bad weather, but not so bad. You do not need. You can fly the shortened or lower circuit to the other runway. It is used that you need to go under the clouds, and then, but the wind is not favorable for the runway 27, so you will do the circling approach, which means you fly until the outer marker, and then you should go for the downwind for the runway 09er, and you will fly visually for this runway. And the minimum obstacle clearance height for this approach is here for the categories.
Okay.
And the last part of this chart is the missed approach procedure, which is written here. I think, I don't know if it is maximal altitude. I think it is the maximal altitude. So you should fly at 1,500 feet until the 30 miles from the DME Bravo Oscar, or 2.4 miles from DME B and O. Then you turn left to the War DME B and O and climb to altitude 3,000 feet.
Okay. A question about the upper map.
Yep.
On the left side, we have like a circle pattern.
That's the holding pattern.
Okay. How am I supposed to intercept this kind of pattern? I mean,
This is the hard part of the IFR procedures.
okay.
I have a question as well about the part of the chart when you see the glide on the bottom where the scale
Yep.
is the second scale, the one on the bottom. There's a 1040, and on the left there is 1220. What is it?
Well,
Is this one?
I don't know. I see, but I do not know what is this.
Just asking because it looked unrelated to the other scales. So.
Yeah, it looks unrelated because it cannot be the altitude because on the 6 mile it is too low.
Yep, yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Maybe it is just some mistake. I really don't know.
Maybe it's for a different. Since you have the localizer planes, it's about for someone who doesn't have IS, maybe.
If you do not have the ILS, you do not use this procedure.
Ah, okay.
You
Fair
will
enough.
you will use the VOR, or well, you probably do not have the VOR, so you can use the NDB procedure, which is another type of approach. And NDB, TACAN approach are the non-precision approaches.
I see.
And I'm exhausted.
Fair enough.
So let me put in the stupid proof. For example, this figure. Oh, why is so thick? Sorry about that. This one.
Yeah, this is
So these are the frequencies of, for example, this localizer, the Morse code, because you can actually.
Yes, it is the frequency of the ILS.
Okay.
You see, it is the localizer of the ILS. You see here the.
And the location, you need the location in order to find, for example, one not in this case, but in the other case, in order to find the starting point of the approach.
Yeah, exactly, because you have these distances are written from these DMEs, so you need that also the location, which is shown on this map.
Well, it doesn't seem to be complicated.
It's just a clusterfuck of numbers.
Yeah, the complicated part is actually being totally blind and flying it.
Yeah. And for I will try to find a Kutaisi airport.
Yeah.
Yay.
Also, the FLII flip charts for DCS, are they user-made or are they a reference to actual?
It is user-made, but it is.
Okay.
Or it is the. I think there will be some. Oh well, it is user-made for our. One from the our Czech guys made these flips, and I work with the Senaki Kolki NDB chart for the. Or I shared the data with him. I computed some data there.
All right, and of course, because I know that we 132nd we normal DCF the DCS maps, which are lackluster at best. They are not very good, and they don't have kind of informations. But I don't know. No.
So say again, or in other words.
Because in our group, we actually, as far as I know, we don't use this kind of maps. We don't use flip charts for the Caucasus and Kutaisi. We are using the standard DCS maps for this, right?
Yeah. One problem with this is that we, or 132nd wing, we usually fly the in VFR conditions or VMC conditions in visual and according to visual rules or VFR rules.
Oh, okay, yes. So this kind of stuff is just for when it's IFR only.
Yeah, this should be IFR flights, but well, in our group they try to use it also as VFR procedures. Well.
Okay, I see.
For example, so here we have the chart from the kneeboard for the Senaki TACAN approach for runway 09er for category C for Senaki Kolki. It is written some.
A very stupid question. Why is it
Sorry?
green? A very stupid question.
Well,
Why
I
is it
think,
green?
I don't know why is it green. Maybe it is some channel for alpha. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, could be.
It's because he realized that I'm using the green one, so he doesn't want me to draw anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Shut up.
So
Okay.
here you have the. It looks a bit different because it is flipped. Flips are usually military procedure. But you have the basically same information you can find here. So you see the instrument approach chart, which for the Senaki Kolki air you do not have any radar frequency. Then you see here the channel for TACAN approach and the approach course or final heading is 1A8.
What's FAF alt?
FAF out, final approach fix altitude.
Ah, okay.
But final approach fix should be at the point where you should start descending, I think.
So when I coming, for example, from Marker Point River and I turn in at 9.5 nautical miles from the DME, should I be at 1800 feet?
Well, no. This is the difference in this chart, and this is the mistake, or this is wrong in this chart. So in this chart, you should start descending at 9.5.
Okay.
You join the holding pattern written here. And this is also wrong because you should.
What is wrong and what it should be?
Here is the distance 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the distance between the 9.5 and 8 looks the same, by the way.
Sorry?
The distance between the 8 that you cancelled and the 9.5 looks the same. I know this is not a circle.
Well, all looks the same. No better because these charts are not in the scale.
Ah, okay, I see. Okay.
And so from this point we start turning to the initial approach fix. And then you check the altitudes at the lower part of the approach, and you see here at 9 miles you need to be.
Okay. Yes.
And this is most important thing for you, Karan. If we fly the instrument in instrument conditions, it would be great if you could brief me about this chart, and if you could say when we are flying after initial approach peaks or before the arriving to airfield, it is good that you will do the briefing. I think we will cover that briefing, the arrival briefing later. And most important thing will be these altitudes. You will check the distance from the TACAN, and you will say at the distance 8, or we are at the distance 8.5. At the distance 8, we should be at 2,700 feet altitude. And I will check my altimeter, and I can say that if we are high and low.
Silly question. The altitude. How do you get the altitude? I mean, okay, you're at the altimeter, but normally we use the QNH and not the QFE. So this altitude is QNH.
QNH.
QNH. Okay.
It is from QNH.
Oh, okay, because it's quite different often.
Yeah, that's why we use QNH, because it is it shows the altitude from the airfield. And you know where you are, or at which altitude you should be.
And I can imagine that this is the most important because it's the first one. If you miss the first one, then everything else, you have to abort the landing and start again.
Well, in this procedure, you can fly by steps because it is non-precision approach. And if you are at a, for example, if you have that 9.5 and you are at altitude 2,000 feet, you should stop descent, and you should fly at that 2,000 feet until the 6 miles. 6 mile. And then if you really quickly descend to 1,800 feet, and you are at the 5.9 mile, you should stop descent and wait for the 5 mile to start descent to commence the correct glide path.
Which is 3 degrees.
Yeah, which is 3 degrees, but
I think.
Yeah, in these procedures, or in a non-precision approach or 2D approach, you can do the step descent. Usually it is used for NDB approach, where you have the where you have overfly altitude at the outer marker and the inner marker. I think here we I don't see it.
This I don't remember very well. QNH is airport pressure, and QNE is when you transition to the right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. QNE is
QFE.
QFE is the air.
No, QFE is airport, isn't it?
Yeah, QFE is airport. So you have the altitude 0 at the airport.
And
QNH is the altitude above the sea level.
It's the opposite. Yes, QFE is when you're under the transitional altitude, and
No.
QNH.
No, you use QNH all the time. Basically, you do not use the QFE. You use QNH and QNE. QNH, you use QNH under the transition altitude,
Yes.
and above the transition level, you use QNE 1013 or 2992 or 760.
Yes. And QFE is just for the airport, right?
Yeah, for airport flights when you are sometimes Russians or some air bases use the QFE.
Okay, I see.
It is just pressure at your airfield. You set the pressure at your airfield, and you see 0 at your altimeter, and basically this pressure is you cannot use for other users of the airspace.
I see. Okay.
Because you cannot say at which altitude you are according to the other user
Yes.
who flies from the another airfield.
So it is correct. For example, the threshold elevation here in the Isanaki is 36 feet. I can imagine that if the threshold elevation is like 3000, we are up a mountain, for example, the TACAN table on the top would be like at 1 mile would be 3000 or something, because we're not using the pressure related to the airfield. Is that correct?
Say again.
So just to make sure, stupid proof. So the threshold elevation here is 36. Okay.
Yes.
So I can imagine that, let's say the threshold elevation is 3000, for example.
Yes.
This table, for example, at 1 mile would say, for example, 3300, for example, because
yes,
we're not
it will be 3300.
Exactly.
For example, because it is computed from the obstacle clearance altitude, and so on.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and yeah, another thing here you have your minima. On the bottom you have the minima. So for TACAN 09 there is 400.
Could you explain the threshold elevation concept?
Threshold elevation. The difference between threshold elevation and the airport elevation is that in the airport you have some reference point, which is not surely not measured at the threshold.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So you have the difference between you can have the difference between altitudes.
Okay, and so Karen, you were saying that if you are like at 2 miles mark point, could be the elevation you're seeing for yourself is like 536.
No, my question was, so we are basically at sea level. Okay. At 1 mile, we should be at 300 feet. Makes sense? But if we are up a mountain, the threshold, for example, would be like 3000 feet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then the TACAN table,
yes.
for example, if we were using the QFE, it would have been still 300. But if we use the QNH, it would be 3000 or something, whatever, 3300.
Yes.
That was the question, just to make sure that I understood the pressure correctly.
Yeah, you understood the pressure correctly, but I will just add the important thing that for the TACAN approach, the threshold elevation isn't important, or for all the non-precision approaches, NDB and TACAN and so on, is not important threshold elevation, but the airport elevation, which is at the upper part of these flips.
Because the idea is not touching down totally blindly, because it's not
yes,
the
exactly.
precision. Okay.
Exactly.
43.
The threshold elevation is important for the precision approaches, like ILS, RNAV approaches, and so on. And one last thing which should be at the at the beginning that this qualification between non-precision and precision approaches. Then you have the procedures or IFR procedures, which are that IFR, which are that ILS landing and NDB landing and so on. And I lost the forget it.
So what about there is no TACAN? So for example, northern part of Caucasus, there is no TACAN normally in the Russian airfields. You use VOR, NDB. What's the difference?
NDB. You will use NDB approaches, and I don't know if the maybe in that I will try to find it.
But the idea, I guess, is similar. So it's a reference point that you follow in order to get to
Yep.
a certain position.
You have in the NDB. I will clear the board. So we have some airfield. Some airfield reference point.
I see that there is a text thing. Hold on. Yeah, it works. Yep.
Yeah.
Better.
And
because I studied it a bit with the KA-50 in order to try the IF instrumental landing. But yeah, it works. But yeah.
I mean, also instrumental landings for the Kamov, maybe easier. I mean, they're not supposed to go in the night, right? I mean, not night vision.
Night is fine. Night vision and that's it. But if you're totally blind, yeah, you have the radar. I mean, it's an helicopter. You can stop wherever you want.
Yeah.
If there's a tree because you have missed the runway, then it becomes quite dangerous as well. No, I tried it and it works. But it's not a precision though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is non-precision approach, and in this non-precision approach you can go until the 100 meters above the ground level, or it is the minimum descent altitude is minimum descent height is 100 meters for non-precision approach. So, and this means you fly. I have here some airport. You have and the airport elevation will be 0 for each. So if you fly this non-precision approach, somehow usually it is if you descend, if you will be at
So you basically do is something similar. You intercept the outer beacon.
Yeah.
Do the
You will
pattern and then intercept the inner one.
Yes, exactly. So you will do the step down approach. That you can fly also the 3-degree glide path, but you do not have the start point for the descending. So you will basically compute the time and from this time you will start descending, and you will check altitude at the Bravo Oscar. If you are at 300 meters at Bravo Oscar, it is okay. You can fly the same way. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. It does. Then I'm very happy that I'm not a pilot. Ha.
But also you should have one.
I can always blame someone else. Ha ha.
That's very true.
Well, no, seen on paper this way with an explanation is actually pretty easy, I would say. The problem again is following in totally blind conditions, so you have to rely just on your avionics instrumentation. That part might be challenging.
Well,
Yeah,
it
pretty
is,
much.
but the more challenging part is here that if you do not have these instrument NDB approaches published for the Caucasus map, you have just some few airfields which we have, and then sometimes I will develop the NDB procedure for MI8 when I'm flying. This was the funniest part.
Well, theoretically, if you know the altitude and the distance between the outer, the inner, and the airfield, I mean,
Yep.
it just goes straight in. You overfly the
Yep.
outer, the inner.
Yes, basically this, and this was the thing I did when you have the MI8 qualification here in the 102nd wing, and you have there some navigation point or navigation exercise, and I did this. I developed this procedure for that closest airfield and try to fly there.
Nice.
But
Nice.
the minima there was deep under the non-precision approaches.
Yeah, so you have the precision, you have the non-precision, and this is like the very approximate non-precision approach. But as long as you, you know, as long as you can walk away, it's good. So you're saying that the flip for DCS, the one that you sent me as well, are wrong, but all of them are just one. It's just the, I don't know, value is the values are incorrect, or is the design of the the patterns that is incorrect?
Basically, design is incorrect, but you are able to fly these approaches.
But to be honest, as long as you intercept the first point in the beginning of the glide path correctly, it shouldn't be a problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, we can basically still use them. We just need basically distance of the position of TACAN. Oh, sorry about that. There is a way to find the actually lat long coordinates of the TACAN station from these charts. Because I see, for example, some lat longs on the bottom of the flip, and I'm not sure. Those are the one I'm looking for. Oops. Well, just for example, the lat long coordinates of the airfield. See what I mean? I'm looking at the PDF that you gave me.
There should be also the lat long coordinates for these TACANs. as well as the fixes, which means initial approach fix and the final approach fix. Okay, I'm exhausted, so I will.
Well, thank you
It
very
is
much for the
it
explanation.
is clear.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, but it took just 1 hour. I mean, I expected more from you. Last time for the F-18 it took like 4 hours.
I'm not really prepared. I'm not really good at flying IFR now.
I was joking. Was totally appreciated. Was great. Thank you very much.
Also, you could be way better than us, so we actually had an opportunity to learn something.
I would say instead of
Yeah,
it could
for
be
me,
is
for me, this is also training for explanation, learning how to explain something.
It's a skill.
So
Yeah.
maybe
I'm gonna print out these things. Then whenever you want to fly, I can sit down on the in the Rio seat and just tell you a couple of data and see you if you manage. to
well, you should make the kneeboard, or you could make the kneeboard.
Yeah, I prefer to have them on paper though, because kneeboard is still quite small. Yeah, I know you can, resize it and whatever.
Yeah.
But I rather have them on paper. So if I have some notes to write down, let's say some pattern are different, I can just take a pen, write them down, fix them. That's it. I always prefer paper for the airdrome charts, visual approaches, and whatever not, so I can actually take some notes quickly.
That's good.
I know I'm killing trees and I feel very bad for it, but yeah, no. No, jokes aside, this is the only thing that I print.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Great. Really nice.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna print them out. Yeah, we don't use them very much in the 130 seconds, and probably.
But also because we have the tower actually guiding us most of the time.
Yeah, but also because the problem with DCS, the clouds are a problem with DCS. So unless you prepare like a thick layer of clouds that is the same for everyone, sometimes it's a bit random. So some people see clouds, some other people don't see them.
Really?
So yeah, it's kind of messy. So that's why probably we try to fly maybe with the wind. Wind is fine, but without totally some random clouds here and there whenever we can.
Mhm.
I guess, unless they changed something recently in the last couple of years.
Random.
Go ahead.
If you have the overcast, you should have the clouds everywhere. So the hard conditions, it should be okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing that you can do, like single full layer. But even if you place, I tried by generating some big clouds some here and there. I tried to fly them in multiplayer. That was a couple of years ago. I don't know if they changed it. Some people have these big clouds. Some others maybe they are tight formation with you, don't see them, or they see them like a couple of miles in a different position. This is kind of complicated sometimes. So probably that's why we don't use them much. Also, we have. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the.
I lost you.
Yeah, the clouds are generated in same way as the traffic on the ground, randomly
Oh, okay.
for every user.
Band
Yeah,
side.
that's why probably makes sense.
But the actual layer of clouds is for everybody, but it's just a thick layer of cloud. It's not more than that.
Yeah, either you place something that you can, even if you randomize, is basically so thick and is so spread it out, so it's covering the whole map. That it's the same for everyone. Otherwise, sometimes it's messy. So we rather keep it out. And also, we have rotary wing. We have helicopters that are not really made for
IFR.
Yeah. So yeah. Better safe than sorry. Just leave if you really few clouds here and there. That's it. Wind is fine instead. Wind is normally fairly okay for everyone.
Yeah, but it's very. You don't have very good castings. Very.
No, I think that the dynamic weather is bugged as well. Has some sort of similar issues. So no, we don't use it. I think we use the static one. I think we get the weather condition from the actual airport or the area.
Well, you can get, but once it started, It's that one.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
becomes static basically. Yeah.
yeah. Once you load the mission with the actual weather from meter.
It means that you cannot create the British weather correctly.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, thank you again, Demon.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'm gonna share you the link as soon as YouTube has finished its stuff, because it takes a bit of time every time. And well, if you're around later, we can fly around.
Okay, so see you later.
Okay, thank you again. Bye bye.